Welcome to the Uplift, where we are uplifting our lives, uplifting each other, and uplifting our communities together. Thank you for joining myself, Cy Herrera, and Tessa Savala here, two women, two attorneys, doing it our way, and inviting you here each week to share in on the stories, advice, and life lessons we've picked up along our journeys that keep us uplifted, and that will hopefully do the very same thing for you. Now buckle in and let's get ready to be uplifted.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day. As always, I'm Tessa, and I am joined by the most amazing person in the world, Cy.
Only second to you, Tessa. Hi.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
It is, hot and sunny and
It is
summer
hot.
in Texas.
Yes.
But, you learn to embrace this kind of like vampire lifestyle where you thrive when the sun goes down.
Yep.
Right? Like adapt, pivot, and make it great.
It's perfect for me. It's like the world is just adapting to us and our vampire ways. It's perfect.
I
I just wish
I
everything
kind of
would stay open. That's all.
right. Like I was reading yesterday about legislation in California to make night markets a thing. Like, you know how they have like night
Ooh.
markets all over Asia, right? I'm like, that is so cool. Why do we
Yes.
not have night markets here in Austin, Texas? Because
Yes.
it is hot during the day. And I don't know
Yes.
about everybody else, but I just don't want all those UV rays like, penetrating my skin and
Mhm.
scalp.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I'm for it. Where do I sign up? How can I support this? I'll
Right?
sign up for
Like, let's make this
it.
a thing.
Let's make this a thing. That sounds amazing. I know some people. I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna start spreading this idea. I love it.
I love it too. I think it's, a good way to find the uplift in the middle of what I
In the
guess
heat.
thing is going to be heat and like continued heat. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's unrelenting. At least it
Yeah.
feels unrelenting,
Yeah. But
especially
we're
when you live to
inside
garden.
and yes.
We are inside and we are cool and we are going to have a great conversation.
I'm
I
grateful
have
for
been
that.
thinking, yes, me too. I have been thinking about all our strong friends. I
Mm.
saw this, you know, story on Instagram about a woman saying she asked her grandmother why her grandmother never bothered to like check in on her. And her grandmother said, well, you have your head on straight. I don't need to worry about you. And she asked her mom why her mom paid, showed more love to her siblings. And her mom said the same thing. I don't have to worry about you. You know what you're doing. You're strong and you're determined. You can get things done. And she said, you know what?
Mm.
Just because I'm strong and just because I'm determined doesn't mean I'm not worthy and needing of the same type of love and support. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, that hits home, right? Like we
Yes.
forget to check on our strong friends because, like the grandmother and the mom in this situation, we think, well, they got everything together. Everything's great. But
Mm.
sometimes we don't talk about it, right? So sometimes we don't know about it.
Right.
And
Right, and how much
sometimes,
do we internalize too? I mean,
oh
where we
my
think
God.
we shouldn't ask for help or we shouldn't talk about our problems because everyone else's problems are way worse than ours, right?
Yeah. Or we feel like we have to minimize our problems. Like
Mhm.
I read this book, White Girl Problems, and I was like, okay, this is like the whitest of the white. I get it, and I'm like, yeah. And she was being sarcastic, obviously, the author, and I was just like, yeah, it's hard to make my concern that my oven's on the fritz an issue when people don't have ovens.
Right. Mhm.
And how do we balance and
Exactly.
how do we remember to like check in with our strong friends, like the ones that we go to help for? Sometimes they've got the issues too, and
Yeah.
they need that one person to like give them permission to talk about it so they can free themselves of it.
Yeah, this is really important and I wish that everybody that I just wish that we had a culture of, being curious about each other and ourselves, and checking in with each other and ourselves, right? Because I always joke, and we've talked about it before, people ask you how you doing, fine, like we don't think about
Yep.
it, we don't actually check in, we don't actually know, and the other person might not actually care how you're really doing. It's just a pleasantry, right? It's just a thing that we do to greet one another. And I almost wish people wouldn't say it. I wish they would just say hello. And we just had a greeting that was not this question unless you really mean it, right? And so, um, I mean, the good news is that maybe it does prompt something, and we've talked about using that as an opportunity. But we want to help each other, we want to be there for one another, and there are always people who end up being the person that everyone goes to,
Yep.
right? And I
Yep.
forget how somebody described it. They described it as like being, the emotional support something for people. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing, right? And it's like people just know it. They don't talk about it like that, but you're
Yep.
the one that they go to, and it can be exhausting if if you all you hear is bad news from all of the people that you love, actually. Like if you get all the problems,
Yeah. I mean,
that's gotta be a
that's
lot.
taxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really, really interesting topic because so many people that, have it quote unquote all together, have their head on straight. It's so funny you said that because someone literally just told me that the other day. And I was like, yes, I do, I guess. I'm not gonna say I don't, but also
Right?
doesn't mean
Who's
I'm
gonna
not
say
a
no to
human
that?
being. Yeah, but it was like, oh, I
Hmm.
didn't think that you would need this or that. And I'm just like, why not? I'm human. But really it's like that idea, this fallacy almost, that there are like superhumans and then
Yep.
everybody else who needs the help of the superhero, right? And I mean, it really makes me, yeah, it makes me relate to the superheroes on screen, because it's like people only call them when there's a big problem going on, and they're rushing off
Hmm.
and doing all the things, and they're supposed to be really strong, and people idolize them to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And build a whole narrative around that person, like you were just saying, this person is seen as strong in their family, like they got it all together. um, but at the end of the day, we're all just human beings. That's why I've been talking about the human experience. I'm like, well, we're all in it.
We
We're in the human
are.
experience, and it's like none of us are not that. None of us are superhuman, actually. None of us, no matter how put together we seem, no matter how many accomplishments we've had, even if somebody's somewhere that you want to be, it doesn't mean that they have all of the answers. Come on, nobody has all of the answers, right?
Nope.
And I think oftentimes it's like people literally, in my experience anyways, I'll just speak for myself as a human being going through the human experience. I I've felt that, you have to make choices and trade-offs, right? To
Hmm.
have what is most important to you. Like, this whole thing that like what was it? I don't know if this was the 80s or 90s or whatever, but this whole idea that, I mean, I grew up with it, of like having it all, right? And I think that that's literally what I think that's what's in me, that I've been trying to have it all. And I think I just came to a point where I realized, like, oh, this is having it all. Like doing the things that are most important to you, and some things not getting all the attention, and some things you have to catch up on, and some things you have to go back and you have to fix. And that's having it all. That's like literally it. Like there's no perfection. There's no having it all in the sense that everything you can do everything all together all at once. That's not a real thing, or in my humble human experience, it has not been.
I completely agree. And my husband taught me something many years ago when I still thought I could have it all. He's like,
Mm,
you can have it all, but not all at the same time.
yes,
And
exactly,
that kind of hit me,
exactly.
right? Like, because
Mhm.
you could be all the work person when you're in work mode, say, but
Right.
you can't be the perfect, partner and mother and friend when you're giving your all to your career at that moment, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's hard to do it all at
exactly.
one time.
Exactly, exactly. And then that's why we have to recognize in each other, like we are all human beings, and it doesn't mean that we can't, try and have as much as we can at different times.
Correct.
And those things change, right? And priorities change, and people's,
How much you want changes.
yeah, and what you want changes over
Oh,
time, right?
yeah.
And that's good, and that's okay. And again, that's the human experience, right? We've talked about, people thinking that you have to have this, and that by this and age, all of those different like standards, and it's just ridiculous, right? And you literally don't know what you want until you want it. you you actually don't know because in your life you're changing all the time, right? And so when you become a different person or just a person with new priorities, shifting priorities, I mean, everybody has this dynamic nature about them. And I'm just thinking about, at my office, people coming back from like maternity leave and like these big life changes that people have, weddings and things like that. And I'm just like, it's so interesting to think about it in a group setting where it's like, we're all in this thinking that we're all with certain priorities or certain commitment, whatever, and then it can just change. Everything
Oh, yeah.
changes all the time, and it's like, you have to be able to give yourself permission to have that change of heart, change of mind, change of priorities, and other people too.
And not judge the change, right? Like, it
Yes.
just exists. It's not good, it's not bad. It is just
Hmm.
the choice to change.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, I think of, especially as lawyers, I think, say, a classic big law litigator may not appreciate the fact that you and I have taken alternative lawyer paths,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And, we have to think not everybody is going to do the same career the same way. And that's okay. Which leads me to one of my most favorite expressions: this is how it's always been done, which is horrible and should never be spoken because it's evil.
The phrase that
Because
should
as
never
you
be spoken.
right? Because as you definitely point out, everything's constantly changing. And
Right.
I am
Exactly.
certain the way we started our careers is not how they're going now, or how we start our relationships are not how they are going now. And that is great and beautiful and lovely.
And that's just another reason to check in on people who you just assume, have it all together. First of all,
Hmm.
a lot of people who appear to have it all together, I'm sorry to say it, but they might be the messiest people you ever known. Like you don't know. You just don't know what's really going on in people's lives unless you really, really know them, unless you're really like really, staying close to them and talking to them and gaining their trust to let you into their lives. And so I sometimes think like the people who are not asking for the help is, they're usually the ones that need it the most, right? And so I try to change my narrative in that way. And I was just doing that today with a friend. I'm like, if I'm seeing somebody who's so strong, putting things all together, doing so much, and I'm in awe of them, I've started to be like, oh yeah, and ask. And how is
Yep.
all of this, how are you dealing with all of this, how is all of this, impacting you, how do you, how do you take care of yourself through all of this, because it's like, wow, I mean, it's amazing to me when people are doing so much. And I mean, frankly, they look like they have it all together. Same thing. Like you just assume, oh, I guess they got this handled, But if you don't ask, they're not gonna be the people who tell you. They're really not. But asking, I think, is probably, just the first and easiest step is just to say, okay, that's a lot. Anytime you like, that's a lot. Also, how are you taking care of yourself through all of that? Or how's
You
it
know, that
impacting
reminds
you?
that reminds me of a text I received today from one of my cousins. And I
Mhm.
have cousins that are pretty much the same age as my parents because my
Mm.
mom was the youngest of seven kids. And my cousin asked about how my visit with my mom, who visited recently, how it
Mhm. Mhm.
was, because my cousin's mother, was my mom's sister, had the same personality where they had to entertain themselves at all times, and it was go 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 go, must be doing something at all
Mm.
times, must be productive at all times.
With
And
busybody syndrome.
yes, and my cousin pointed out adeptly that she thinks this was unresolved trauma. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, I see
Mhm.
that now. And then my point when my mother visited was to get her to slow down and relax because she does so
Mm,
much for her spouse that, I think she loses sight of herself. And so the idea of doing stuff for her is foreign to her.
yeah,
In
uncomfortable
her,
even. Yeah.
oh, yeah, sitting still,
Yep.
just enjoying a movie, totally
Mm,
foreign. Yeah.
yes. Yes. Yeah, I get that. I know too many people like that. And I wonder what causes that trauma in particular. I mean, I think, if I think about my grandma who definitely has the dreaded busybody syndrome and I think back like, when she was young, they worked her hard. And I
Mm.
kind of I mean, I'm just saying this out, thinking this out loud really as I speak, but I wonder if it had a lot to do with the fact that she felt worthiness, when she was being productive. She was one of 12 children, and she was one of the older ones. And so, that responsibility, you almost have like a quasi parentalship type of, feeling or role. And so I wonder if that's the trauma, like that, her worthiness got all tied into her productivity, possibly. And so she has to keep being productive to feel worthy or to feel worthy of love in particular.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that they were a generation that needed the accomplishments to have worth, especially as women, right? Like women being judged
Mhm.
by their
Mhm.
accomplishments or their productivity and not by who they are. And maybe
Yeah.
it's the fact that they were never valued for who they are, only
Right.
what they did.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that has to be part of it for sure. And especially in families, I don't know your mother's entire, childhood background, of course. But in hers, anyways, it was like their family was very poor. I mean, they didn't have anything. And so it was like work was also, survival. And so I feel like the stakes are so high, too. And to put all that pressure on a child is a
Yeah,
lot, obviously.
it is. And it's, you know, I guess it's great that we can acknowledge it in others and hope
Hmm.
that we don't find it in ourselves or
Hmm.
recognize it in ourselves
Or repeat it.
or
Yeah.
repeat it, which is
Or
probably
at
the
least
worst
heal.
scenario.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
because I
right?
feel like it's not, we're not, I don't know that we're repeating it exactly, but I will say that, it's interesting. It's really interesting because, I like to stay busy for sure. So I feel like I see myself in that too. And I don't necessarily think of it as like this terrible, terrible thing all the time, but it's like there are limits, and it's really, truly just hard to know what those limits are supposed to be or what's healthy and what's not. And um and and i i, I find more and more for myself anyways that the question is not how much but why. And you know if we don't stop and think about the why, then that's when we, I think, just act out of habit and out of, socializing, like of just what we've been taught and what we've absorbed, right? But if we ask why, then I think that helps. For me, when I'm enjoying my work and I'm excited about something and I'm doing it because I love it, I think the why is a good why. It could be
Yeah.
because I'm seeking, maybe I'm seeking validation, all of that. But I mean, I sometimes really stop and question, right? Like, especially when I'm getting exhausted, if I'm doing so much that I'm starting to get like just, I know I'm getting to this place when I can feel, it's almost like I can feel my stress levels like rise in my body somehow. And that's when I know like, oh, I need to check in on myself actually. And so I do. And I think like, why am I doing these things? Am I doing these to please other people? Am I trying to impress other people? And am I trying to, get people to like me or be really impressed with me for some reason because I need that validation? Or are these things I'm excited to work on? Are these things that need, like, I just do a little inventory. I just check my inventory and figure out whether or not this stuff is happening am I putting this stuff on my plate because it fulfills me, because I absolutely have to, or I mean, because I'm looking for something. I'm looking for validation or affirmation from somebody else. And I think just knowing that, knowing the difference, and then choosing whatever your choice is after that can be a little bit, empowering. It can help you feel like, okay, at least I'm making this choice instead of letting my body and my programming kind of rule me and move me through the world.
And I wonder if maybe that's what, like, that when you do that self inventory,
Mm-hmm.
and I have started to recognize when I am burning, what is that expression? Candle
Burning the
burning
candle
both
on both sides
at
or
both ends.
something. from both
Yes,
from both
yes,
ends. There it is.
yes. And so, if we're acknowledging it in ourselves, I wonder if we can recognize it in other people and know to
Mm,
just like check in with our strong friends and say things like, hey, when is the last time, or
mm.
what has been your favorite way to self care? Or how have you been spending your downtime? Because if they say they haven't had any downtime, then
Right.
it's time for downtime.
Right, exactly. I love that part. Or like, what are you doing to take care of what are you doing for self-care, or just literally making people think about it? Like, what are you doing to recharge is something that I've been telling some people, but lately, because I'm like, that's the only way that I can think about it in terms of people who don't want to stop working. I'm like, okay, but you have to recharge, right? So how are you recharging? What do you do to recharge, or what do you do to have fun? Even just something simple.
And that makes me think, wow, society has pushed us so hard that we have
Yes.
to recharge from it, right? Or like our
Yes.
careers have pushed us so hard that we have
They
to
drain
recharge,
us. They drain every bit out of us sometimes. Yeah,
as opposed to just
it's
like
true.
enjoying ourselves.
I know it. I know it.
Excuse me.
Salud. I wonder if we could ever get to that place in society. It's kind of strange because it's like I honestly don't know how human beings would react to the idea of having like no work, for example. Like all your job is to have fun and enjoy yourself. I don't even know that we could do it. I think I think we all have too much but busybody syndrome actually for that. So
We
I don't
do,
know that that would
right?
work.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, I mean, maybe we don't change society, but maybe we can like make little like pockets of
Mm.
time and
Little pockets of
pockets
fun.
of fun, or pockets for escape, or
Hmm.
create environments in our work cultures that allowed people to check in or rewarded people who needed
Or just
recharge.
create healthy environments. That's what I'm trying to do, really. Like that's really what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know how to do it, but I'm trying. And that's what I keep thinking is like, how can we create a healthy environment because nobody else is going to? Like no one's
Isn't that
coming.
sad? I mean,
Yes, it's so sad. But that's the
but
only way is probably to do
it
it
is.
ourselves. So yeah.
And,
So I'm
and I
working
think
on that.
I think it's good that we're starting. And I think it's great that we're identifying these things. But I think I see so many of my colleagues and friends who
Mm.
still are built into this like what was that show, that movie where the guy was like a stock trader but he was also a serial killer? Like, I think sometimes I think that's what we're getting. Like it was very like
Right.
robotic, and we have
Mm.
just we have these we become these people that just want to, I don't even know if it's achieve. It's just like maintain, or be everywhere at all times, which is
Right.
humanly
Right.
impossible.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, and even like, I mean, even the sense that like you're missing out on things, because like there's so much to do,
FOMO.
and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I wanted to do all those things, I get that a lot actually, but I'm also like, I love my couch. Anyways, I find that part interesting, but I also feel, that the people who don't look up and never enjoy their lives, I just feel sad for them actually. I feel really, really I feel like that's such a waste of I don't know how to say it nicely, I guess a waste of life, but
It
I want every
is.
I just want everyone to, enjoy life. And I know that we have to and the way that I think about it is like I don't think that there's such thing as, or maybe there is a such thing as balance. I just don't relate to that word. I relate to like having a healthy work environment or a healthy lifestyle, where it's just like
Yeah.
whatever is healthy for you makes sense for you, right? But it's like some
Yeah.
people love to work a lot, and that's not a bad thing. It's just
Mm,
like you
agreed.
have to know yourself actually, right?
Yep.
Because everybody's different. So like if we were to tell people this is what we're going to regulate your schedule to, like they might hate it. That might be like their personal hell, but for us that might be perfect. And so I think, it's like the first rule again is like you have to know yourself and check in with yourself. So that's why this topic is so interesting to me because we're talking about, checking in on the people that appear to be really strong. But for me, I keep going back to the fact that like there's so many strong people out there that don't check in on themselves. And I would love for other people to be checking in on them. But honestly, I think one of the issues that comes up for me with that is even if somebody were to check on you, if you're not honest with yourself and you don't know yourself and you're
Hmm.
not really checking in with your body and your spirit and your mind and where all of those things truly are, how could you ever tell somebody else the truth?
And especially say when you're young or just starting out, or actually even some people who I know who are older than I am, I don't think they ever check in on themselves. I think they
Right.
might be afraid to to
Oh,
find out what they see.
yes. Yes, that's so real. That's so real. And I mean, that's you can see it when you tell people, like, for example, like, hey, have you ever like gone to a therapist or chatted this out? Like they might bring up trauma and then you're like, well, why don't you talk to somebody about that? And they're like, oh no, I don't need that. I don't like I think that that has to be fear-based too, because I'm like, what are you afraid of? Just talking to somebody? It's not
Yeah.
that scary. It's nothing ridiculously outlandish. It's just literally chatting with somebody. But I think, what you're saying is correct. When people are afraid, then they're not going there, right? They're not going to even open up that can of worms. They're just going to keep pushing on, keep being busy, nothing else, and some people even say like, when I'm busy, I don't have to think about things.
Yeah.
So they're kind of running away from their feelings and running away from their trauma or their intrusive thoughts or their anxiety or their neuroticism, whatever it is that keeps them occupied in their mind that's uncomfortable. Um, Sometimes
When
being
did
busy is the way people get away from that.
when did you learn to start checking on yourself?
It was really with meditation, and I always go back to that because it was the first time I learned to sit and be quiet and actually sit in silence and get comfortable with my own thoughts because I have a lot of thoughts and I feel like um in our time in society we're just overstimulated, frankly. I mean, for
Hmm.
me anyways, this is my experience. I'm looking around and I mean even just now I was just coming off the highway coming back home and I was looking around thinking like, "Oh my god, I'm reading so many things and I'm listening to this music and I'm hearing the things in the car." And it's just like if you really pay attention, like there is a lot going on. There is a whole lot going on. And I
Yeah.
realized like I've been trying to go to the park a little bit, when it's not 100 degrees out. And and I just realized, like, why does this feel different? And I look around and there's nothing but like trees and green. And it just made me realize, like, there's nothing to read. There's nothing to look at. There's no like visual messaging happening. But when you're out on the street, oh my gosh, it's just a lot. There's actually a lot going on. And we don't even really realize it. And we don't realize what that's doing to us as far as, our anxiety levels and how they're creeping up, trying to think about all these things. I mean, there's this billboard that's bugging me so bad that I have to see so frequently coming home and it's like it's like a drunk driver one, somebody died, it's tragic, and I'm like, this is too much for me. Like I'm trying to drive home and I have to think about this terrible, terrible thing. And I'm like, I feel traumatized. I feel triggered right now. And it's, I say that jokingly in a way, but I mean in a real way. It's real. Like
Yeah.
we're having like all these little triggers all the time. We're having, even if it's not something traumatic, it's literally just like, oh, you had to read that ad. You didn't mean to. You just looked at it, and your brain is so
Hmm.
fast. Your brain just starts processing these words. And so you can tell right now, like I'm speaking faster. I'm like getting like agitated a little bit just thinking about it really. So for me, like breathing has been one amazing thing. And even
Right.
lately I've been catching myself not breathing, regularly, and I'll just take like a big deep breath and it just makes me feel so much better. So just breathing helps. And I learned that also from meditation, actually. And if I could ever, commit to the practice of sitting and meditating like I used to, I know I would be so much better off. And so what I've been doing is trying to incorporate some of the practices of meditation in my daily life. So like I said, just like breathing and like taking stock, and like sometimes even like just if I can, like just closing my eyes and taking a few breaths and grounding myself, and touching the fabric that's on this chair, or just touching whatever the car surface or what have you, and just literally just grounding myself, because I really do feel like it can be a lot. It can actually be a whole lot. And you can't even be alone with your thoughts in this world unless you make space and time and intentionality to do it.
So when did you start meditating?
Probably about maybe about 4 years ago now, I would say. And it was really simple for me. I literally started with like an app. I just I can't remember. I think it was Headspace, and there were some free ones. They had a lot more free ones than they do now, by the way. but but yeah, I was like, let me give this thing a try. And I have no idea why I started. I cannot remember. I don't know if it was like everybody was talking about meditation is so great. I I want to say that I had started feeling like the stress starting to get to me, and I just felt like, you know what? I need to do something. I got to try something. I'm not a big exercise girl, so I'm like, okay, let me try this thing and see if it really works. All of this stuff that people are talking about, does it really make any difference? And I was really shocked to find out that it really did make a big difference for me. And I mean, I did not do I wasn't doing hours and hours of meditation. I was doing like, the 5 minute thing or the 10-minute thing, or, when I was at my height of like spending time on this, maybe like a 15-minute session, right? But not a lot, not a lot. And I mean, I learned little skills of like counting my breaths, the inhales and the exhales, and like just counting down from 10 with each inhale and with each exhale. And yeah, I can't tell you how much those little tools have helped me just like quiet my body, quiet my brain a little bit, and then clear my head a little bit to the point where I can even have that discussion with myself and take stock and take inventory.
I too started meditating when I was in law school
Mm,
for the same reason, stress.
mm-hmm.
And I love the practice. And now, if I can't sit for a period of time, I also invoke quiet around me if I need to like fast focus. Right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I cut off all stimuli and like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm in the zone. Sometimes to my detriment, or like I might not notice people walking into my office, or if I'm working at home, might not notice that like a dog has jumped up on the table next to me, because it is a practice. Like it might even be slightly addictive, right? Like I enjoy meditation and the quieting of my mind so much that
Mm.
I crave it.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a nice sacred space. I mean, it's beautiful there.
It
I could just get back
is.
there more often, like truly.
And I've tried to incorporate it into like almost everyday things, right? Like even if it's
Mm-hmm,
just folding
exactly.
laundry, like make
Yes,
it meditative and
yes.
really focus on the folding of the laundry.
Yes. Yes,
And I think it's kind of
exactly.
it's almost for me like a way of life, right? Like, how do I
Mm-hmm.
find a way to stop and enjoy all the moments?
Yep. Being present. That's what I try. Like, I have such a hard time articulating it to people who haven't, gone through and learned how to meditate because um I don't have the right words, but basically what you've just said, I really relate to. Before I knew how to meditate, I didn't know how to, like, make space for my quiet. Like, I didn't know how to ground myself. I didn't know how to, like, get into my presence, right? And after
Yeah,
meditating, it just helps. It's like
absolutely.
this practice helps you, and you can take those out into the real world, those tools. Like, you get tooled up and you can take them out into the real world. And yeah, I've used it so often when, especially if I'm like if I'm feeling like, oh, I need to pick up my phone. Like, these phones, I think they're just like little dopamine sticks or something. Like, you just want to, like, like, get your little taste from it. It's so hard. And so, when I realize it, first of all, I think I'm more conscious now just from the practice. And when I realize it, when I see it happening, I know what to do. I have tools, even if I'm not sitting and, quietly meditating. It doesn't matter. I can use those tools out there in the world to calm me, to settle me, to ground me, and to help me to be present. And so that's why I'm always so grateful for that. And I always, talk about it because it really changes you in a pretty profound way,
It
actually. And I just
does.
wish that everybody had that tool set. And I think I've heard some things in some, I guess, progressive schools where they're teaching children like the basics of meditation. And I'm like, yes, this is like, why didn't anyone teach us this? Like, everyone should have it. It would make such a difference for sure.
And I think it sparks that journey to start asking yourself about how you're living intentionally, what your
Mm,
purpose is. And I think those kind of conversations with yourself is what helps you know when you need to stop or pause or do more or do less or pivot. And
yep.
that's what, like, I wish I had like this amazing little toolkit that I could bring to all my strong friends and be like, here, you can absorb this by osmosis and it will make you
Mm,
happy and you will not feel
hmm.
like you're about to like explode. Which I,
Yes.
when you stop and ask them, you realize that at their moments when these strong people need help and aren't asking for it, it is like a star ready to just like explode into the universe
Mm,
because they are
yeah.
strong and they are powerful and they know what they want in so many ways. When there's a moment of not understanding or knowing that, it is like chaos.
For sure. And that brings up another question. Like, as advocates, as friends, as people who love others and care for others, and we see, especially high achieving, or however we want to describe people who seem to have it all together, as we see the people we love like that, maybe struggling, like maybe we get the opportunity, to see them in a vulnerable moment. Um, what do we do? What do we do? What is the best way to really, care for somebody, or to offer some kind of relief for folks going through that moment? Because I would argue everyone's going to. It's just a matter of when,
Right?
right? And how often, and what support you have. And I yeah, I'd love to explore ways to really do that well, because for me, again, everyone in this human experience, we're all going to have these moments. We're all going to have these moments where we need help, where we need support, where we need uplifting. And what does that look like for somebody who's, kind of got it all, quote unquote, has it all together, who you think has all the answers most of the time? What do we do for folks like that? Because it's actually harder in a way, to help somebody who
Yeah,
usually doesn't need help.
yeah. And I find, at least, with my friends who are on, say, what society would say is on top of their game, on top of their careers, and top of their fields, it is lonely at the top, and just
Mm,
simply asking
preach.
them, like,
Yes.
how's it going? No, seriously, how is it really going? And
Mm-hmm.
then, so what are you doing to unwind or to relax or to find joy? And what is bringing
Mm,
you joy? Because we all
mm-hmm.
deserve joy, and everything shouldn't be, you know, go,
Work
go,
related.
go, must achieve this objective. And I think a lot of them, bring that home too, right? Like,
Oh
must
yeah.
accomplish the following task this weekend. And if I don't accomplish the following 5 tasks, then I
I
will self
failed
destruct
or
because I have failed. Exactly. And self destruction is the only option.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, absolutely. And so what happens if somebody tells you like, "Okay, how's it really going? It's actually really stressful. I don't have time for myself. I don't do anything to care for myself. I just have to care for other people. We got a lot going on right now." What do you tell somebody like that? Where do you even begin to help them or support
I
them?
think I might tell them what I seem to recall telling you at one point in time. You're doing this for everyone else. Who's doing it for you?
Yep,
Right?
yep.
And we all need somebody who will stop and say, hey, does it bother you that this is what's happening? Say it's a strong person who came to you with a complaint, and you're like, does it bother you that that's happening? Right? Like, I think figure out what they need. Do they want to vent? Do they need permission, right? To spend
Mm,
time on themselves. Because I find a lot of people just need
yes.
someone else to tell them it's okay,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
which is so weird to me,
It is,
right?
it is. Yeah, but it's that deprogramming. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
counter programming.
it is so real. And I often think that I am too Swedish for the United States and
Too
too
Swedish.
much like the United States for Sweden at times, right? Like,
Ni ai ni haki. That's
yeah,
that's a that's the struggle. That's the struggle of having dual identities, if not
and
multiplicity of identities.
and it's so strange because I'm going to go out on a limb and call the U.S. career culture kind of pretty toxic, right?
Bit
Like,
toxic,
it
just a touch.
it's a bit toxic, yeah, just a touch, and that does not exist in Sweden, right? Like,
Mm.
mutual respect and respect for people in all fields and
Wow.
required time off and universal health
Sounds
care and
magical.
years of family leave for both parents or
Mhm.
a single parent, whichever one it may be. And then I think of the United States and I'm like, oh wow, we're rewarding this company because they actually are going to allow a mother who just gave birth to have more than 4 weeks off, right? Like, mind
It's a big
blowing.
deal. It's a big deal.
I'm like, really? Is this how you want to treat humans?
Right, right. And yeah, I mean, that's that kind of, country. It sounds like literally a fantasy to me. It's hard for me to believe that is real. And it's just interesting though because you also said that you're too US for Sweden now. So what do you mean by that?
So sometimes I find that, like, my desire to achieve things,
Mhm.
and I don't do it for societal recognition, but I want to know that I'm able to do those things, is too American. Like,
Mm.
sometimes I think there's not enough innate drive. Like, there is a contentment
Mhm.
in the status quo,
Mhm.
maybe, or a contentment at any moment, which I appreciate and value in Sweden, but as too much time in the United States, and I'm like, okay, I have achieved this much. Wonder what happens when I achieve this much more.
Mm.
Not because I
That's
think
a
it's going
bit,
to, like,
yeah.
change the world, but because I have a mind that just, gets off on getting
Hmm.
achievements in my own mind.
Yeah. It's a really kind of an interesting philosophical thing too, because, everybody wants the US to get to different places that they have in their mind.
Hmm.
And that would be an interesting thought experience to see like, oh, I don't know, in a few hundred years, maybe maybe we do all these things that we'd love to see from the US and then people are just like, yeah, we did it. We don't have anything else to do. Let's just and then we just give up. That would be so interesting. I wonder if that would ever happen. I'm just playing at this point, but I think it'll be really interesting, especially like I mean, really it's very relevant actually, like thinking about AI and all of the incredible technological
Hmm.
advances that are happening so fast. Like we talk about it every couple of years of like, oh, there's new technology, all the workers are gonna be put out of jobs, and then what are we gonna do? And it's kind of funny that we really have that conversation all the time in the US of just like, what are we gonna do? No, really, what are we going to do?
No, no, this is the point where I'm too Swedish because I'm like, it's all gonna work out because
I know,
the
that's how
robots
I
are not
feel.
gonna take over.
No, I don't
I
think
just
so.
don't
But
see
I
it.
mean, mark our words when the robots come back
Right?
and read. No, but I mean, it's just the thing is that we have our identities just so tied in, of
Yeah.
course, in the U.S. At least that's the way that I interpret it. And it's not an easy thing to divorce yourself from your greater culture and society, right? Like those are all real pressures and real identities and real programming that happens to all of us. And so I go back to what we were talking about earlier, which is like just create, like, if you can, however you can, I should say, create the bubble that you want to live in, like not a bubble that's
Yeah.
exclusive or doesn't recognize the value of all people, but a bubble that is like your fantasy. Like, what would you like to see? What would you like to, what would you like to live in, right? And it's not an easy thing. We
Right.
live in Texas. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that Texas is always trying to pop my bubble, but we rebuild, we just keep going, and we try to keep
We do.
doing as much as we can, and so and I think
Eventually, we'll
it can
have
make a
new
big
people in
difference.
power. It can,
Exactly, yeah,
and it
we can wait
will.
them out. Yes,
That's
exactly.
that's my current goal. Just waiting them out. But
Wait them out, exactly.
you raise a good point. It's kind of like, how do we and our strong friends just figure out what the right balance is for us, right? Like maybe some
Mhm.
people thrive on go, 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 go,
Right,
go.
right.
Maybe some people have kind of like cycles. Sometimes they want to be go, 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 and sometimes they
Yes.
just want like Zen peaceful moments and
Oh, that's
determining how
me.
that balances for them, right?
Mhm.
And I think maybe this is it. Maybe the thing is that we expect everybody to want the same type of or need the same
Right.
type of reaction and stimuli. And
Mhm.
maybe that's like a cultural issue where we think that
Mm.
there's a solution that fits everybody and it's just
Mm.
one. And this is what everybody
Right.
should be doing.
Yep, yep,
Based on my
and that's
Instagram feed
mhm.
advertisements, that is exactly what the US is about right now.
And that's why we don't understand each other too, because 'cause we're just like, "Why can't you be more like me? Why can't you think this way? Why can't" I mean, we just wish that it was simpler, but, that's what makes things interesting. That's what makes the human experience really interesting, is all this amazing diversity of thought, of lifestyle, of culture, of history, of all philosophies and ways of life, and so yeah, I would go back to, everybody is going through this human experience and everyone is human in it. And we need to always make sure that we're just recognizing and acknowledging everyone's humanity, no matter how they appear, to us or to the
Yeah.
greater world. Everybody needs a friend. Everybody needs a shoulder to
Hmm.
cry on. Everybody needs to vent once in a while. Everyone needs to maybe sort out their thoughts with another person sometimes. I mean, everybody needs something. And, if nothing else, we all need each other, right? Like if there's anything that we have
Hmm.
in common is that we are social animals. And I mean, maybe there's some outliers to that and they're living in the woods and that's fine for them. I'm happy that they found their happy place. But for the most part, we are all like very social animals and no matter if somebody looks like they have it all or they, got it going on. They have everything just, sorted out just right. I mean, most of the time that's people like really, really doing a lot of work to make it appear so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't imagine that those folks are just doing that alone. I always think the healthiest people are the ones who have an incredibly healthy support system, actually. And, we talk about strength, but I think maybe we need to stop talking about strength in individuals like we often do with our individualistic, mindset in the US, and start thinking about like the strength of our communities, the strength of our support groups, the strength of our network, the strength of, our circle that we've built, our bubble that we've built.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this so much.
And then we can challenge ourselves, right? Like you need to strengthen your bubble, which kind of sounds like a butt thing, but it's not, I promise. Strengthen your system, strengthen your support, strengthen your roots. Like you can strengthen so many things that make you a stronger piece because none of us is an island. We're all
Yeah.
in it together. We absolutely are all connected. And so when we invest in each other, we invest in ourselves.
Yeah. And I think about all the like small things we do to build our communities, and it is so simple and so complex at the same time. Like you
Mm,
forget how just small acts of kindness can build
yes.
bonds that
Can be
are
life changing.
immeasurable.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know the ripple effects. You don't know. I mean, it always intrigues me when somebody like quotes something that somebody did like 30 years ago or whatever, like, but this one time, this one person did this for me and I'll never forget it. And it's just like, wow. And you've been operating from that place, you know what I mean? Or even like when somebody, even things that we say in this podcast of like, well, our grandmothers told us this thing and we still live by that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yep.
that's a big deal. Somebody told you this thing and you're making life decisions for years based on that thing. But that just goes to show the power of community. It's so, so strong. And we can't forget anybody in our tribe is really the thing at the end of the day. It's like every single person is important and their health and well-being is so important and so vital to the entire community. So we have to make sure to take
Absolutely.
care of each other.
Yes. And make it okay for people to confide in you and rely on you, and make it okay for your friends who might need a pause. Give them
Mm,
permission to do it, however that
yeah.
pause looks for them. I mean, maybe the overachieving, career driven person's pause is they want to go climb some mountain. Maybe that's what,
Mm-hmm.
relaxes it. Whatever it is, let them find their joy. And don't, what is
Absolutely.
an expression? Don't yuck their yum, because we don't know what makes them tick. We don't know what brings them joy, but let them have it.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if people's thing changes too.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
what did you used to do when you were in your 20s for fun is a lot different than whatever you probably do now, or whatever you would do next decade or the decade after that. I mean, we're always in a full evolution. All of us are changing all the time. And so I love that you said give permission though too. And I would offer also create space and opportunity too, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's so many times when people are like, "Oh, I can't do this or that." And I mean, just one example for me is like I started playing music kind of randomly again in my life because it brought me joy and I was just like, I need to do
I love
more of
that.
that. And people are like, "Oh, you're just going to be in a band now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fun." But I think, people sometimes get caught in their own like idea of themselves. And where does that idea come from? Society. Like society makes us think that we can only be one thing or that we can only
Yeah.
be these two things. And if you're a woman, you can only be like a mother and like, I mean, there's all kinds of things that people are trying to put us in these boxes in. And I would say, you know, just doing things that bring you joy actually inspires other people, just hard stop. So do that. And you can be an
Absolutely.
inspiration right there. But also, like, how can we create space and time for each other? Actually, my friend and I just had a little thing today, and we're both extremely busy. We have zero time, and we both decided we were going to take a day off just so we could spend more time together, so we didn't feel like we had to be rushed like we always are. And I really
That's
appreciate
awesome.
that. I really
That is so
appreciate that.
awesome.
It really was. Like, it was lovely. We sat by the lake. We just chatted about whatever we wanted to chat about. Like, I mean, and we could have done anything with the day. We give ourselves permission to just do nothing for the rest of the day, go do something we want to do together. I mean, we planned it out far enough where we neither of us could say, like, oh no, we're booked, like, we planned it out, like,
Nice.
we picked a random day in July, and said this is the day we're going to do this thing. And we actually put in time at work. And I feel like, unless I'm having a flow of, I mean, I really just, this is so relevant right now, unless I'm having like a full blown vacation, right, where like I'm paying thousands of dollars to go somewhere, I
Hmm.
have a weird thing in my head that, like, I'm not supposed to be taking PTO. I'm not supposed to
Yep.
be, taking work off because I don't have a good reason. I'm not sick and I'm not going on vacation. And we've been programmed in the US that those are the only things that you're supposed to take time off for, right? So where we are, we've started doing basically mandatory mental health days. So we have 2 days in the year where we just close the office entirely. No one's really allowed to work because the offices are closed. And so we're just doing that just to help people understand that, you can take time off just for your own mental wellness, right? But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, like, who else is encouraging you to just take a day off for no reason at all?
Um, well, considering I work for myself, nobody.
You're not getting
Until
rewarded
I'm
for it in any way.
un, until I'm really nice to myself. And I have learned that I just have to set the boundaries, right? Like
Yes,
I have to say that my workday is going to end at this time. And if I have clients emailing me at 10 p.m. and it is
you're
not an
unavailable.
emergency, it is
Yeah.
not a respond. It is not a time to respond.
Boundaries.
And
Boundaries are the best.
um, that that took
That should be on a
that
t-shirt. Boundaries are the best.
boundaries are the best. It took like 10 years for me to discover
Mm,
these boundaries, but so important and so liberating. And nobody has
yes.
ever complained about it, right?
Wow,
Because it's really
interesting
just
to
about,
say that. Yeah, because nobody, because when before you do it, like, it's really scary actually. Like, I've
oh,
been thinking
absolutely. It
about,
is
I
frightening.
read in a book somewhere where somebody said, you should put on your email reply, or I don't know if it was an automatic reply or just in your signature, something like, I check my emails at this time and this time of the day. And, if you need to get a hold of me, this is how you do if it's something urgent or whatever. And I've always wanted to do it and I've never done it because I feel like nobody else is doing that. You can hear like the
I
insecurity
think
in
I
my
might
voice.
do that. That is
And I
really
really want
great.
to. Let's do it together. We can be supportive of each
Yes.
other. Because I mean,
Yes.
it's actually true. So, like, on my calendar just recently, I've started doing it where I'm putting daily email blocks on my calendar where I can actually dedicate, because frankly, I check my email so much and so, just throughout the entire day, that I almost felt like I wasn't really giving it the attention that it was due, because there's a lot of important things that come through email, obviously. And
Yep.
when I'm trying to check it in between everything else, I mean, sometimes I would, like, start a reply, not finish it, like, I would try to open up a document, didn't work, wouldn't do it, whatever. And I'm like, this is actually not going to work out for me. So I had to dedicate time on my schedule. And so now it's actually true where I could put it in writing. I could just tell people I check my email, during this time in the morning and during this time in the afternoon, and that's it. And boundaries are all about communicating. And so maybe this is the time. I'm going to do it if you're going to do
I think I
it. I'm
am. I'm
I'm
also
codependent
think
on you right today.
I also want to add, if this requires a response and I haven't responded, check back in with
Mhm.
me, right?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, that's so genius. That's genius. That has to go in there. We're gonna have to put together a little draft, right, of this language
Yes.
that we can share with the Uplift community so everyone can do this. This is so healthy.
I think so, and I think he's going to help a lot of people prioritize themselves, but at the same
Yeah.
time, prioritizing their work so that everybody
Yeah.
understands what's happening when. Because ev- I think the greatest achievement in life is some good, solid communication.
Absolutely. Communication is key. And so more communication cannot be bad. So I'm telling myself all these
Correct.
things, ramping myself up to do it. I really want to do it.
You and me both. Okay, I'm gonna be serious about this, and I'm gonna work
Yes.
on a draft. Yeah.
I'm so excited, so excited, and we'll owe it to everyone else to see. Oh, and I wanted to mention that you're gonna love what we called today, the day we took off. We called it a friends retreat because because we were talking about how like we have board retreats and staff retreats and all of these, quote unquote retreats, and I was like, we need a friends retreat. We need to have
We
a day
do.
for us, and obviously we need a friends retreat. So let's put that on the calendar.
I love Friends Retreat, and I want to say maybe we should encourage people to take a self retreat as well.
Oh, self retreat. So perfect. Yes, everyone needs to get out their calendars, put a self retreat on the calendar, and for however
Yeah,
long you want it to be, and for however long you
right?
can have it. And I know that not everyone probably feels like they can have a self retreat, but just having that as a goal even is amazing because if you think about I need to prioritize a day just for me, even if it's one day. Oh, it sounds
Yeah.
so lovely.
Doesn't it?
I love
I'm
it.
going
Yeah.
with even if it is, 30 minutes to have a cup of coffee with
Yes,
yourself.
absolutely. Yeah, a self retreat, and it's like you just get away. If you can't put an hour on your calendar for yourself, then things have gone terribly wrong. Please call us. It's an emergency.
Yes. And you know what? I think we might have stumbled upon our answer for our question at the beginning. How do we
Mm,
help our strong friends?
there
Self
you go.
retreats, friend
And friends
retreats.
retreats. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I love it. And then we could even go with the theme later where we're just like, I don't know, you want to have a refresh of something, or you want to get into meditation or whatever, but this whole idea that we're making time and space for ourselves and for each other and to strengthen ourselves and to be healthier and be well. I'm in love with this is a
Me too.
movement. Is it
And
too soon to call it a movement?
no, because I am all for taking away the whatever kind of shame or judgment or whatever has existed for, I'm going to go with the majority of my career up until the last 5 years ago. Because I think that's how it was viewed, especially as a lawyer, right?
Mhm.
Taking time off and taking time for yourself is not something
Oh
that the
God.
legal profession prioritizes in
You
any
gave
shape,
me a
way, or
twitch just
person.
thinking about that, being a
Right?
lawyer and taking time off. What? No.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Like,
You will be
I,
punished severely.
this makes me so proud of us for like
Mm,
having defied that lawyer culture that is,
yes.
I'm going to go anti personal retreats.
Yeah, they're not on that tip. They
No, no, no,
call it
no.
I'm gonna call that anti-wellness. Yeah. They're
Yes.
they're not part of the movement yet, but we're gonna get them there.
I hope so. I certainly hope so because even lawyers deserve self care.
Yes, yes. Every person in the human experience, you deserve it. You deserve it. And I love that we're finding new language and new ideas about what that looks like because frankly, when people tell me self-care, I don't even know. I feel like it's become a whole thing now where I don't even know what self-care, means when people say it. I know what it means for me, and I love that we've talked about
Right.
it and asked people to think about what it really means for them. But sometimes when people are just like, "Hey, do self-care," I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." That's
Right.
not
And
easy.
for me, for a long time, I heard self care and I'm like, what kind of commercialized crap is
Exactly. That's
this?
what I'm like, "What are
Do you
you
have to
selling me
buy something?
today?" Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so like it's so hard to even think about what that means in real life for you now because the whole thing has been co-opted into some other
Oh,
thing.
it has.
And so that's why I love that we're just creating new language and new ideas and new opportunities to really make healthy spaces and promote wellness within our lives and the lives of the people that we love and care for. no matter how much they got it all together.
Absolutely. And for everyone who needs permission for a self retreat, because I am now hereby, you know, removing myself from the self care language and referring to a self retreat. Because doesn't that sound so much more lovely?
Sounds
Let's all
lovely.
move. Let's all move forward and give everybody we know permission to retreat for themselves and
Mm,
thus treat themselves.
yes, yes. That
Yeah,
language works on so many levels, actually. I'm
it
I'm
does.
inspired. I cannot wait. After we're done here, I'm getting my calendar out. So thank you for
Yay.
that.
Yay. Yes, 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 yes. I'm all in.
Yes.
And thank you, everyone, for being with us on this journey and indulging us in our often, I don't want to call it idealistic, in our optimism and belief that everyone is good and everyone can help each other be better and be their champions and be our champions for our friends and our colleagues and our allies and even maybe our enemies because there is room for all of us.
Yes. Stay well, stay uplifted, y'all. We love you. Take care.